I thought that I was on a path to the perfect life. I was living with my son and his father, and we were looking for a new home, but something went wrong and everything fell through. In the evening before Thanksgiving, he told us that he was going to take the dog for a walk, and he never came back. The morning of Thanksgiving, I had my son in one hand and a bag of clothes in the other. I knocked on my mom's front door, and I asked her if we could just stay with her for a little while, because we didn't have anywhere else to go.
I can say I was always a daddy's girl. And my dad would always abuse me, and then he would go buy me some expensive gift. Because everyone thought that my dad was the coolest dad in the world because I had such nice things and no one knew what was going on. I left one abusive relationship with my son's father, and so we ended up in a shelter. I felt that I had failed my kids because after trying so hard, you know, I never thought that I would end up in a shelter. I just felt so broken at that point in my life.
When I came into the Bridge program, I felt embarrassed and ashamed, and then I was accepted, and my entire life changed.
The support, it was just amazing. I had never had someone that believed in me more than I believed in myself.
I didn't have any confidence when I first came into Bridge. I was, at my lowest point.
When I was standing at shelter, I just couldn't see a way that I would have a dining room table that might be so simple to someone else, but to be able to sit down and have dinner with my kids.
My goals coming into Bridge were to save money, to learn how to budget, and to survive, to be able to give Aiden the life that he deserves. We've learned how to live. I can pay my bills and still have a good time with my son and not worry that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I've learned that I really can't do anything.
I get so emotional just to think about how someone that never met me ever in life can be so kind to me and my kids.
I really think that Bridge can make the world a better place because it gives such a sense of freedom and independence that every single mom or dad needs to have.
I would never forget Bridge Communities because they absolutely changed my life in so many ways. Some people giving a hug just might be part of who they are. But that first hug that I got, and it was a true hug. I felt the emotion in it, that this person really cared about me.
And I just want to say thank you. From the bottom of my heart, just thank you.
Bridge Communities has been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I'm reintroducing myself. I'm John Hayner from Bridge Communities. I'm glad you said my name because I was having trouble remembering it this morning. This is a stretch year for me too. I used to be just a short guy, and this year it's been a real stretch. I'm a little taller now. I want to give you just a minute about Bridge Community and tell you the birth story. So last night we had our Sleep Out Saturday event, if you've heard about it. So, as a matter of fact, there are people here who probably have participated in it. in it in past years. Last night was our 14th Sleep Out Saturday, but last night was also the start of our 30th year since the founding. So the founding, I'm going to tell you the birth story. It was two guys up in Glen Ellen, First Congregational Church, Mark Milligan, who's still with us part-time today, and Bob Walgren, who passed away a couple years ago. But they both worked at the PAD shelter on a Sunday night at First Congregational in Glen Ellen, 30 years ago. They could not stand the sight of young mothers coming into the PAD shelter to bed down for the night with young children. And it just bothered the heck out of them. They said, how could we in DuPage County, arguably one of the wealthiest counties in the upper Midwest, how could we be raising children in homeless shelters? So they wanted to do something about that. About 2 months later, they rented an apartment just for a short-term rental, 3 months to see how it would go. And they put a family into it. Fast forward 30 years, we have 24 apartment buildings, including one we acquired right here in Naperville just last Monday. And we house right now about 110 families. And we own those apartments. And so we've got long-term control of the real estate. We have 25 staff members. In a couple of minutes when we run our annual report video, which is a fun little thing, you're going to understand more about what those staff members do. So that's the introduction. How many of you have some baseline of understanding about Bridge? Okay, so maybe a third of the room. So I talked about 24 apartment buildings that we have in DuPage County. 43% of our housing stock is here in Naperville. So we're surrounded by a number of program partners here, and I'll tell you in a minute what a program partner does. But there's a reason we're concentrated in Naperville. You got a good school district here. You got pretty safe communities. We've got the full support of the police department and the city of Naperville, including for financial resources. We're the single largest recipient of CDGB capital grants in city of Naperville, have been for quite some time. So city of Naperville is real important to us, but we wouldn't be thriving here also without the interest and support of probably 15 different program partners, including Families Helping Families. Who knows Families Helping Families, okay? Most of our program partners are churches. Families Helping Families is rather unique. They're a community-based organization, been with Bridge almost since our beginning, well over 20 years. And they sponsor 11 families, all here in Naperville, okay? So sponsoring is a big commitment. And in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about the mentoring piece of it. A program partner for the privilege of hanging out with Bridge and supporting us, sends us $940 a month for every family that they sponsor. And that covers about a third of our total program costs. More important, at least the way I think about it, than the financial sponsorship is the provisioning of a mentor team of 2 or 3 people for every family that is sponsored. So we're here to talk about volunteer ideas today. The oldest form of volunteerism that Bridge has from its very beginning is mentoring. And it's a little unusual because our mentors, different than many other human services organizations, are the first line of direct service to our clients. So the people that our client families get to know first name basis first are likely to be their mentors and not our staff. They'll meet our staff very quickly thereafter and get first name basis with them too, but the mentors are there to walk that journey with them, and it's a 2-year commitment. It's contact with the family every week, and for the most part going to their apartments or in the learning resource centers that we have at each of our campuses, okay? So it's not for everyone because it is an intensive time commitment and sometimes emotional commitment because you are walking that walk with the family and usually helping them recover from the trauma of having been homeless just before they got into the program. So you have traumatized parents, sometimes you have traumatized children. It's not an easy thing. It can be joyful work and very, very gratifying, but it can be very, very hard. So it's not for the squeamish, and we can never guarantee what kind of experience we're going to have. We have had 800 families walk through our program in the last 29 years. So but we tend to go real deep with each family. Rather than serving hundreds and hundreds every year, we're only bringing in about 40, as you saw on the video, soon to be 50. But we go real deep with the people we serve with the hopes of having deep impact. And when you saw the Siobhan video, you saw an example of that. So that's what mentoring is. Again, program partners support the mentors, as do we, with training and lots of help from our support staff. But it is a deep commitment. Many people think that, well, my church has to be a program partner of Bridge for me to be able to participate in this. That is not the case. I would say 15-20% of the mentors we have come to us, go through our mentor training. They are unaffiliated, so to speak, and we match them up with program partners who might be looking for mentors at any point in time. So it happens all the time. If it's something that you would like to undertake, I have copies of this little 2-pager right off of our website, and I'll hand them out to you as you leave today. The second thing that we have done for a very long time, is after-school tutoring. It really was intended in the early days more for kids. It still, as a matter of fact, is more for kids. You can register to be a after-school tutor right on our website. We generally are encouraging, though, only experienced teachers, not necessarily certified, but experienced teachers to do tutoring because it can get somewhat technical, okay? If that's something you're interested in doing, it's not as intensive and as long-term generally as being a mentor, but it is a weekly commitment for as long as it takes to get through the content of the tutoring. At any point in time, we're always looking for GED tutors. Now I'm turning to adult tutoring. We have been working with College of DuPage for a long time for GED tutoring, but it doesn't always fit the schedules of our clients who are looking to finish their GEDs. And we've found pretty good success if we can find GED tutors to fill the gap that is left by COD when they can't accommodate the schedules. So same thing, 2 pages off the website. I've got a number of these to hand out if you're interested. How many in this room might have been part of the crews that put together our learning resource centers? You've done 2 of them so far.
3.
3 of them so far.
Yesterday.
I've lost count.
1 yesterday.
What, in Glendale Heights?
Thank them.
I was so busy doing Sleep Out Saturday yesterday that it didn't even occur to me what was going on in our own learning resource center. So here's an example of what we call a one-off event, okay? It doesn't happen very often. Sometimes we will get calls from people saying, boy, I have a Saturday to give. What do you have that I might be able to do for Bridge Communities? We aren't very well set up for that, but through Dick's good graces, this started, what, a couple of years ago when you first built out one of our learning resource centers? That's come together, and there is a crew of, what, 4 or 5 folks that you bring in to literally assemble the furniture in our learning resource centers.
There was 15 yesterday.
It was just 15.
That was,
Holy. Okay, good to know. There's one other type event, though, that we don't do very often, but when we do them, our need for the help of a group like Grace Point is quite intensive. And it's when we, 3 or 4 times a year, put together events for our clients to attend. Various speakers. How not to marry a jerk was a topic that we did 6 or 8 months ago, I think. Right? How not to marry a jerk. Well, we really promoted it. There were a lot of single moms that we thought could benefit from this, and benefit they did. But it has to be held in a setting kind of like this. It's really good if it can be done in an evening, and it's really good to be able to put food out, which churches are good at doing. But in order to have good turnout, we have to support it with childcare, okay? So a facility like this that has places where kids of different age groups can be taken and supervised is pretty critical to the success of an event like that. It's hard to find partners who are able to do that. I'd ask you to think about it as a group, because coming to a theater near you in the next few months will be another one of these events. We'll be looking for that type of support.